We've essentially created India's first leaf protein company.
One of the best places to start an overseas assignment is actually Japan.
I'm sorry to interrupt, it is, but I will only put a caveat that if you're a vegetarian, it's probably not the greatest place to start with.
I can vouch. How they go about looking for opportunities, especially changes taking place in the food sustainability space.
Anything that has to do with chemical-free food is going to continue to be a large theme.
So what are some things you do to just stay grounded during those difficult periods of going through dilemmas?
I go back to the drawing board to say why you started up and what is it that you're building. For me, I'm building a company that should last decades.
The next obvious question is why food?
As I grew up, I realized how our food systems are broken. Almost 80% of the antibiotics that we produce, as in humans produce, are used for animals. The WHO head is on record to say that in future we will see a lot more pandemics like COVID because our antibiotic resistance is such that the bacteria have evolved and therefore our existing antibiotics will not work.
Welcome to the Great Lakes podcast. As we complete 20 years as a school, we are getting in touch and conversations with several of our alumni who are doing wonderfully well either in the corporate world and in startups. Today we have with us a distinguished alumni who worked for several years in the corporate world and then moved on to kickstart an interesting venture in the food space. We all know food is interesting, and therefore we thought we'll catch up with Vaibhav, part of our 2008 batch, who actually went on to discover and now file for patents on interesting technologies related to food. Hi Vaibhav, welcome to the podcast.
Hi Raj, thank you for asking me to come on the podcast. It has been a pleasure knowing you and interacting with you before the podcast as well. But I'm looking forward to talking to you.
It's wonderful. It's always exciting to talk to entrepreneurs. So before we get there, can you tell us a little bit about your early days, your childhood, your university days? What role did it kind of have to play in you deciding eventually, to be an entrepreneur?
Sure. So I was born and brought up in Lucknow. I did my schooling from Springdale College, finished my schooling as umpteen number of young people want to do. I prepared for IIT, and I appeared for IIT entrance exams. Through the IIT entrance exam, little known fact is that you also get entrance to merchant navy colleges. Training Ship Chanakya and Mary Calcutta are two colleges who also take their input from the IIT exam itself. I was extremely fortunate that I got selected for Training Ship Chanakya, TS Chanakya as it's called, which is a merchant navy college in Mumbai. And I say fortunate because I doubt I would have made a good engineer in any part of the world. So I did my graduation from Training Ship Chanakya. It's a BSc nautical course, but essentially it's a course for working on board a merchant navy ship. I finished that course in 2003, post which I worked on board ships for 2 years. As I was working on board ships, I really enjoyed the entire experience. I loved the entire thrill and adventure of looking overboard on the side of the ship and spotting dolphins in the sea.
Wow.
And traveling the world and meeting new people. I had not traveled. As I was growing up, I had never traveled. So my first overseas travel to Japan was when I traveled to join my first ship.
Wow.
So it was a fantastic experience, was having a great time. As I spent a little bit more time and spoke to more people, I realized that I would probably, as much as I love this, I would probably want to explore higher studies further. That's where the idea of exploring higher studies and studying for CAT and GMAT came in. So I studied for CAT, and through CAT I qualified for other colleges and for Great Lakes as well. Great Lakes was very, very new. So as you said, I'm a 2008 pass out. So I was practically the fourth batch of Great Lakes College.
Yeah.
But I had heard such good things about everyone that I spoke to who had passed out from Great Lakes. And I had heard great things about the kind of peer group that we create, because Great Lakes at that point of time was only doing the PGPM batch, which meant everyone was more experienced, they had industry experience. And for me, coming from such offbeat industry like merchant navy, I actually felt it was very important for me to get that know-how of how a typical corporate world works, because that's where I was going to end up. So Great Lakes is where I joined. I did my 1 year program from Great Lakes. As I expected, the program, while academics and courses are really, really important and we focus on it, Great Lakes created a great environment for us to interact outside of the classes and outside of the courses, and the ability to understand each other's experience and benefit and learn from their experience. So that's where Great Lakes was hugely beneficial. I have always, and I can't even trace back to when, but I've always had this thought that I wanted to start something of my own.
Okay.
This is as far back as when I was in Great Lakes, right? Even at that time, I was considering that I should start up. But I really felt that I did not have the requisite experience or the know how.
Hmm.
The other thing that I was lacking, I would say, is something that I can be really passionate about, a cause that I can really put my life into
Okay.
and work towards. So, Great Lakes was fantastic. I absolutely learned about the corporate world, went and worked in the corporate setup for about 13 and a half years.
Okay.
But Great Lakes was absolutely the ground where I started building
Started.
as the aspirations of becoming a startup founder.
Wonderful. I mean, so nice to know. When I started off my career, I remember one of the senior executives tell me, one of the best places to start an overseas assignment is actually Japan, because I also started my first overseas assignment in Japan, and it's a great country, and I'm sure you've learned a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It is. But I will only put a caveat that if you're a vegetarian, it's probably not the greatest place to
Oh yeah,
start with.
I can vouch for that.
I
Yeah.
that I learned the hard way. But
Yeah.
apart from that, Japan is a beautiful country and
It's
beautiful
interesting.
people.
I'm going to connect this back because, I mean, when did the entrepreneurial bug actually bite you? When did it? I mean, you said it's the seeds were sown way long
Yeah.
ago, but when did you really think, hey, I found this, that this is what I should be spending time doing going forward? When did that happen, and what was the trigger?
So I've asked myself this quite a few times. I'll tell you where I can trace it back to. As we were growing up, my mother had her own boutique shop that she used to run. And I was always very excited about being at the shop and just interacting with people and just seeing how is it that we can do more. It was a very, very small setup. By no means I will call it a startup, right? But I think I liked the entire excitement, the entire experience of building something from scratch and doing or thinking about how you can grow it to the next level. I like that entire experience. I also felt at all times that I would say incorrectly so, but I also felt after I joined corporate that if I have to put in X number of hours, I would want to go back and revisit my passion of starting something of my own. So I would say the bug probably was sown much, much earlier. I was probably 10 years, 11 years old when my mother started that boutique shop. But it kind of materialized. It became a lot more prominent after I joined my job. I worked for 13 and a half years. I worked in Genpact. So I'm one of those guys who joined and stayed in an organization, not moved around quite a bit. I joined Genpact. I was there for 11 and a half years. And then I joined Uber for about a couple of years. And in Genpact, about probably 2 or 3 years into Genpact, is where I was fairly clear that I will start something of my own.
Wonderful. So the next obvious question is why food, and how food? How did that happen?
So, I've been a vegetarian all my life. Growing up in India, especially, you don't even realize that dairy is not plant-based. Dairy is animal sourced because of the way we are structured, right? But as I grew up, so as I was growing up, it was always a part of my upbringing and my thought process that animals should not be part of our food system. We shouldn't be exploiting animals. But my reasons were more compassion based because of my growing up and my upbringing, right? As I grew up, I realized how our food systems are broken.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the numbers, Raj, I'll tell you, are mind-boggling in terms of just the animal agriculture industry that is there. Very few people actively search on it, and therefore I'll use this opportunity to share a bit, right?
Please.
So close to 15% of the greenhouse gas emissions of the world come from animal agriculture.
Wow.
This is more than all of your transportation combined. So all your flights, jets, trucks, everything combined is not equivalent to what an animal agriculture does. We don't even know that 70% of the agriculturable land good land that we have is used for animal agriculture.
True.
More than 50% of the grains that we grow are fed to animals. And I can go on, right? I mean, it leads to, so what I realized after a point is that animal agriculture, by all means, is contributing to the climate changes that we are battling, as an entire species that we are battling, right? So my reasons for interest in food, while it started from being compassion
Yeah,
driven,
yeah.
actually have completely transformed to environment driven.
Driven.
UN bodies clearly have called out, not just now, but for
Yeah,
the past 50 years, that all the catastrophes that are facing the mankind,
yeah.
animal agriculture is either the top one, two, or three
Reasons.
reason on the list, on
Yeah.
that list. So therefore, there was this strong urge to do something about that.
Okay.
I've been in the food sector for about 3 years now, three and a half years now, and I've constantly, the passion has been how we can reduce dependency on the animal agriculture or plant protein, and at the same time create more sustainable but good tasting, nutritious food, so that no one is compromising on it, but at the same time we do not continue to harm the planet that we live on.
Wow. Those are really mind-boggling to know. Um, so there is this general feeling, I think, among most of us that for proteins, everyone depends on animal or
Yeah,
animal-based products.
yeah,
And I think it's more of a, it's almost like ingrained in us now
yeah,
that, the moment you say, I stop drinking milk,
correct,
oh my God, you're going to have protein shortages and so on
correct.
and so forth. And so is this sort of a myth, or is it true that there are only these sources for vegetarians? And is it just awareness? Where is the gap in the market?
So, like any industry, the animal protein industry, animal agriculture, and then very specifically animal protein industry, has had enough resources to create an entire marketing campaign and influence the thought process of everyone. It's true for a lot of other industries as well. It's the same thing that happened with food. It is, I would say, it is true that if you are not worried about the quality of food that you're having,
Mm-hmm.
it is easier to get your protein from animals. But I specify on quality of protein
Yeah.
because most of the animal sources today, as per various studies, this is not even me, right? As per various studies, is that they have one or other form of contamination that they suffer
Yeah.
from. Most of your communicable diseases come from animals.
Yeah.
Again, I'll behave like a nerd. I'll tell you that almost 80% of the antibiotics that we produce, as in
Mm-hmm.
humans produce,
Mm-hmm.
are used for animals.
Wow.
And what that is leading to is
Mm-hmm.
that it is giving antibiotic resistance into humans.
My
The
God.
WHO head is on record to say that in future we will see a lot more pandemics like COVID because our antibiotic resistance is such that the bacteria have evolved and therefore our existing antibiotics will not work. Just going back to what you asked in terms of the protein sources, it's completely possible. You have various protein sources that exist in the
Okay.
vegetarian world as well.
Wonderful.
You have soy, pea, wheat, which are the regular ones. You have veggies like broccoli, which have a good amount of protein. What it requires for people is to make a conscious choice that you would want to meet your protein needs, and at the same time you would want to do it through good quality
Mm.
plant based sources. So what it requires is for you to think and be a little more conscious with your food choice. But it is absolutely possible to have a very healthy, nutritious diet, including your protein requirement from just vegetarian sources, actually plant-based sources.
Plant-based sources.
Yeah,
So it's very, again, another interesting thought that you've shown is, so there's this shift taking place. I think we're hearing a lot more about the shift towards plant-based
yes,
proteins, but then the availability in terms of these, and a lot of this is imported, and it's expensive.
yes.
There are very limited choices, and so how did you go about finding that, or how do you position yourself in this space? And
Sure,
and why don't you tell us about, what is this special thing or the thing that you have
sure,
created with Proleri?
sure. So with Proleri, we've essentially created India's first leaf protein company.
Okay.
In every leaf that around the world, there is this miraculous enzyme. It's called Rubisco.
Mm-hmm.
Rubisco is the most abundant protein in the world by virtue of Rubisco being in all kinds of leaves, right? So it is the most abundant protein. It is also the best plant protein that exists on the planet. In fact, Rubisco for years has been called the holy grail of plant protein.
Wow.
Now, there are two reasons for it. One is a good one, the other one is a not so good one. The first, the reason why it is called holy grail of plant protein is because it's a fantastic protein. It ticks off all the boxes. It has all essential amino acids, no allergens, protein digestibility of perfect score of 1. Everything, it ticks all
Mhm.
the boxes. So therefore, the holy grail of plant protein. The other reason why it is called the holy grail of plant protein is because, in spite of being such a fantastic protein source, there is no commercial model that have been built around it.
Oh.
Traditionally, it has been believed that it is very difficult to build a commercially viable model. What we've done at Proleri is that we have evolved the technology of extracting Rubisco protein
Mhm.
from a wide variety of leaves. And we have done that in such a way that our technology enables us to produce Rubisco
Okay.
at scale and still match the prices of the protein isolates that are imported from China. Specifically, if I talk about India, we will still be matching the prices of protein isolates that are currently existing in the market.
Oh.
So therefore, the our strong belief is that one of the reasons why plant protein products are not accepted or adopted that widely
Mhm.
is exactly what you said, right? One, they seem to be more expensive
Yeah.
or more niche, just generally more
Yeah.
niche. And the other, I'll tell you, is the tag that they are highly processed.
Ah.
Now, where those tags come from is from some of the current plant protein sources, which are not the best plant protein sources,
Okay.
right? Rubisco is a much better source. So, our mission at Proleri is to make plant based food or plant based protein products
Mhm.
much more widely adopted and accepted by making our Rubisco protein available to food formulators
Oh.
so that they can build products which are simple, clean products.
Mhm.
They don't have 50 things on the ingredient list, and therefore a consumer is more confident of consuming it. And because we are setting this up at scale, as we start building more and more
Mhm.
capacity,
Mhm.
the price continues to go further down, and therefore that barrier of plant-based products being more
Yeah.
expensive,
Yeah.
that barrier is broken. So we are very clear in our mind that plant-based protein products should be equivalent to animal protein products
Okay.
in terms of nutritional profile
Mhm.
and the way they are formulated, as well as in terms of cost.
Wow.
I would add here that because and so I'll use a slightly wider term. Smart protein or alternative protein is the term that is used for all of the things that are alternative to animal
Animal
protein.
protein.
I within that bucket, I fall into the plant protein bucket. There are other buckets as well, like your cultivated meat, which is lab grown meat,
Mhm.
and then fermentation derived products. So we are not in those buckets. We are in the plant protein bucket. Just as EVs, just as clean energy, and all of these sectors have taken public investment for them to now match in scale as well as
Mhm.
price their not so sustainable counterparts.
Yeah.
That's exactly what is happening with food right now.
Okay.
The public spending across the world,
Mhm.
governments have made smart proteins a priority
Okay.
of their own. This includes your EU, US, Singapore,
Okay.
Australia. They all have programs where they're spending money to encourage smart proteins. In India, most recently, we've just got Bio E3. It's a policy that has been approved by cabinet. Bio E3 is focused on supporting manufacturing as
Mhm.
well as research into 6 pillars, and one of those pillars is smart proteins.
Okay.
So what would happen? The reason I bring it in is what will happen is it's not just entrepreneurs and startup founders like me who are working
Mhm.
towards making it more available and making it and achieving cost parity. It has been made a priority by governments across the world, and that is important because it's only when public funding comes in
Mhm.
that such a huge change
Yeah.
of changing your food ecosystem can happen. So the problems that you highlighted, I would say the industry overall has made strong strides into solving that problem. But I'm equally confident that in the next 5 years, the
Yeah.
extent of progress that the industry will make will be more than what has been made in the last 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
So if you're shifting from animal-based protein to plant-based protein, so here comes the revolution with Proleri probably leading that race. But how do you compare this with the other products now available in the market? So Are you better in terms of performance, in terms of what the product itself yields, and in price?
Sure. So
Quickly, yeah,
yeah, sure. So we are part of the plant protein
yeah.
segment. The top three plant proteins in the world are soy, pea, and wheat. Um, now, without getting too nerdy on this one, because I can, soy is the most complete protein out of the plant protein sources,
Mhm.
but soy has significant allergen issues.
Okay.
And this is not just if you consume a lot of it. This can be at small
Oh,
scale as well, and it's well known, well documented. Again, soy is known so much, right? But the reality is 80% of the soy that is grown is actually fed to animals. It doesn't even make it to
oh,
humans.
oh.
So soy is anyway good protein, but allergen issues. Pea and wheat are incomplete proteins in themselves. They don't have complete amino acid profile. Wheat also has some allergen issues. What is called as the protein digestibility score. So the perfect protein digestibility score is 1, which
Mhm.
basically means if you ingest 100 grams of protein, your body, 100 grams of that is available for your
Available.
body
Okay.
to absorb. The protein digestibility score of soy is 1, but again, pea and wheat are well below 1.
Oh.
So where Rubisco compares to them is Rubisco is a complete protein similar to soy,
Mhm.
but it has no allergen issues
Wow.
whatsoever. Also because right now, so what's the raw material? The raw material for Rubisco is leaves.
Okay.
Now India is uniquely placed to create
Mm.
a commercially viable business like ours because we have a thriving agriculture ecosystem.
Yeah.
We actually throw away leaves in hordes. Like I'll give you an example. So in Nasik alone, just broccoli.
Mhm.
Okay, we're not talking about huge scale, right? We're talking about just Nasik and just
Only
broccoli.
broccoli.
In a year, close to 5,000 tons
Wow.
of leaves are thrown away. Now I let that sink in. 5,000 tons is equivalent to 50 lakh kgs of leaves every year are just left discarded on the field
Field.
itself. Now look at the loss. A, the leaves are disintegrating on the farm and
Mhm.
leading to greenhouse gas emissions.
Mhm.
So we are actually contributing to the greenhouse
Yeah.
problem. Second is a farmer doesn't get paid for those.
Yeah.
That's just waste for farmer,
Waste.
right? So it's such a lost revenue opportunity. So while Rubisco is a great protein itself, it
Mhm.
is also in our interest to tap into this unused or untapped potential because as we scale up, not only are we taking waste away and
Mhm.
converting it into the highest top quality protein that's available to humankind, we're also making farming more sustainable for the
Sustainable.
farmer.
Wow.
On an average, when a farmer that works with us, on an average, he will earn anything between 70 to 75,000 rupees per year, additional to whatever he's earning right now, without doing anything extra, just giving away, just not throwing those leaves and
Giving it
giving
to
it
you.
to us.
Wow.
So it's a great product. It's a great protein. It compares great, but I would say India has this unique opportunity because we are a Krishi Pradhan country.
Right.
We have this unique opportunity of becoming leaders in this new protein that we are bringing to the world, and not just follow what the developed nations have done and become the low cost manufacturing.
Right.
That's typically what has happened, right?
Right.
But we have an opportunity to be leaders in the leaf protein space.
Wonderful. I mean, it's so interesting to hear because we're coming up with a innovative product. Um, and I think waste has been a big talk
Yes.
in India and all over the world. So if we have managed to show that it works in India,
Yeah.
I think this is also something that can be taken to so many other
Easily
countries,
scalable.
developed and
Yes.
developing,
Yes.
especially with the amount of vegetation available all over the place.
Yes.
This is totally good. So, have you filed patents? Is this like
Yes.
something that you have on this whole process or the product, or how does it
So
work?
we've developed technology to extract Rubisco. Our lab is very much within India. We are based in Hyderabad. We are located. We were fortunate to be selected for Aspire Bionest, which is a government of India program.
Wow.
And as part of the program, we get lab space and access to machinery inside University of Hyderabad. Our team has developed novel technology to extract Rubisco. We've filed 2 patents so far. We are actually fairly confident that we'll be filing more patents as well
Mhm.
as we improve our research and expand the number of leads that we work with. So absolutely novel technology, and this is not where we are taking license of a technology that has been patented abroad. We've created our own technology.
So another interesting aspect here is the fact that you decided to come up with your own technology, bring novelty to the space,
Yeah.
rather than just buy technology from elsewhere and then try to just implement and, as you said, bring down cost of manufacturing, etc. I think it's also something that contributes to the image of India, saying that we can actually come up with our own solutions,
Yes.
which can then be sent out to the world. So this
Yes.
whole idea of reverse innovation, sending things
Right.
from India to the West, is amazing. So I'm sure this will do well. And I also read recently you got some awards from the government of India. Could you tell us a little bit about how this went about and
Sure.
what these awards are?
Absolutely. So we've been extremely fortunate. Just I would say a lot of other startups as well. There is significant encouragement and support available from various government of India programs for a startup like ours. As I said, we were selected for Aspire Bionest, which is an incubation space. We pay a nominal fee for access to lab space, access to high cost equipments, and in addition to that, access to talent. Half of my team today is from the University of Hyderabad ecosystem. So one huge benefit. In fact, I commonly tell people that the biggest break till date that we got was getting selected into Aspire Bioness. We couldn't have developed the technology we developed if we didn't have the resources. Then we were also selected. There's something called National Biotech Entrepreneurship Competition, NBEC. It's run by BIRAC and CCAM Bangalore. More than 3,500 startups had applied for that competition. We were fortunate enough to be a finalist, so we qualified into the top 22. And I was in Bangalore, CCAM Bangalore. We presented our vision as well as the scale-up plan as part of NBEC. More recently, Ministry of Food Processing had launched a grand challenge, and they were essentially looking at companies who have the potential to set up large scale manufacturing in India, because they are Ministry of Food Processing. Their focus is what is the opportunities for us to set up food manufacturing, food processing in India. And they selected 6 startups from across the nation. There is and we were fortunate to be one of the 6 who got selected. There is a cash prize that we received, but more than anything else, we were recognized and awarded during the inaugural ceremony of World Food India 2024, which just concluded in Delhi. And it's a grand event, and for us, in our wildest of dreams, we wouldn't have thought that we'll get recognized in front of such a huge population. I mean, there are delegations from 50 plus countries who were part of the inaugural ceremony, and we were recognized as part of the ceremony as well. And then there are multiple programs that we've participated in, and we've always had good results as part of each of the programs. So very, very fortunate for the support that we've got so far from the government programs that are in place.
Hearty congratulations seeing you come this far.
Thank you, Raj.
And it's very interesting to see, and this is a case in point for people who keep looking for support. The government programs, the government schemes, there's lots of grants available, there are incubators, there are spaces, labs available, and I think Proleri gives you a good case in point that it's important for entrepreneurs to have access to information. You need to know what's available so that you can actually make use of these during your early days. Have you thought, what are your scale-up plans? I mean, this is getting very interesting. Where do you want to go next in the next 3 years?
So we are currently working on setting up our first manufacturing facility in Nasik. Nasik is an agri belt that we have, and there is a huge amount of leaf waste that we are creating in Nasik today. Our vision is to turn that leaf waste into high quality Rubisco protein. We expect our facility to be live in March next year. And with that facility going live in April next year, we would start selling our product commercially. Right now, we are working with multiple food formulators and food technologists, as well as companies within the food space, and they are building products on top of our Rubisco isolate, which is an important piece, right? I mean, we are bringing a new kind of ingredient to the space, and as good and wonderful it is, the food formulators have to accept it as the first step, and then the customer will get to see the product. Overall, where we expect to go is next year, first manufacturing facility. We would set up a second manufacturing facility in 2026, and we expect to go overseas, our first manufacturing facility overseas, in 2028.
Fantastic. I mean, this sounds absolutely interesting. So, Vaibhav, why don't you help our budding entrepreneurs with some advice on how they go about looking for opportunities, especially, what are the big changes taking place in the food sustainability space
Sure.
that you've kind of studied so deeply?
Sure.
What are big opportunities available for them to kind of explore?
So there are two key trends I'll talk about specifically in the food space. One is a slightly more country level trend. So our honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he has clearly set a target of India being the food basket of the world. This was one of the reasons why World Food India, the third edition, happened in Delhi. So the where it goes back to is if you're able to create any kind of company which works in the food space, but essentially taps into the Indian ecosystem to set up large scale, high quality manufacturing for products that exist. And there are various options that are available, right from ingredient space to finished product space as well. So that's one of the key areas that someone can look at. The other thing is that as we continue to evolve and as the climate focus continues, anything that has to do with cleaner food or chemical free food is going to continue to be a large theme. Protein as well as non protein, as well, probiotics. All of these are big trends, and these trends are not going anywhere because the consumer is a more aware consumer. I can tell you for food industry, COVID was a big inflection point because suddenly the consumer had the time
Yeah.
and also the realization that our food systems, what they are eating, what they are consuming, is not necessarily the most healthy. And with access to information, they were able to spend some time. So, being in the space, I've been in the food space for 3.5 years now. Pre-COVID and post-COVID is almost like two eras. So the consumer is going to continue demanding healthier, more sustainable food
Yeah.
options. What would happen is the adoption of these food options, which are right now, I would say, is more into the tier one cities in India.
Yeah.
These trends are fast moving on to the tier two and tier three cities as well. India, as we all know, is a huge consumption base.
Yeah.
So there are massive opportunities on creating simple formulations, good products, which can be offered at a price where it is available to a larger population.
Okay.
Whether it is protein, whether it is probiotics, whether it is specific minerals. Longevity is a huge space.
Yeah.
Again, longevity is a space that is just getting started. And all of the longevity ties back to what you eat as well as the supplements that you take. All of those are huge spaces in the food world.
Wow. So that gives entrepreneurs something to think about. We have so many opportunities opening up. So go for it, guys. Now that you've spoken about this and you've been an entrepreneur for now 3.5 years, I'm sure you've run enough experiments to enjoy the process of experimentation. And one of the interesting products of good experimentation is failure, as they say.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about some of the experiments you ran and some failures which actually helped you get better
Yeah.
and stronger, especially when you set up Proleri?
Yeah. So I quit my job in July 2021, which is 3 years, 3 months back now. My co-founder and I, we are still very passionate about the food system, but we were a little misguided in terms of our understanding of what a scalable business can be, right? So we started off as farmers. We set up hydroponic and organic farms in Hyderabad.
Wow.
And we essentially created an e-commerce business delivering fresh fruits and vegetables. These are sustainably grown, absolutely clean, chemical-free fruits and vegetables. We were growing and we were delivering directly to the home doorstep, right? In hindsight, even when I tell you this, it's so easy to understand that this business is difficult to scale, right? But we started off with that idealistic mindset that we want to create something that is absolutely clean.
Yeah.
And we, not just in Hyderabad, we were doing this in Singapore as well. So, two locations, e commerce businesses, what we started off with.
Wow.
Urban Tiller was the brand under which we started. And we realized that while it is an absolutely great mission to take on, if you want to create an impact at even a small scale, the business has to be built for scale and not built for small boutique
Right.
projects. As expected, at one point we realized that this is not a scalable business. It's scalable if we compromise on the values based on which it was created. That we wanted to make clean veggies and fruits available to the households. Now, if we compromise on that mission, yes, we can scale, but without compromising, it's very difficult to scale. So we were faced with a choice. Either we compromise on the mission that we started off
Yeah.
with, and therefore live with the fact that we compromised on our value, or we try and find something that is still aligned to the mission, but it is a much more scalable opportunity. That is when Proleri happened. So I'll say one massive learning that we had is when you're thinking about a company, you don't have to think about scale in the sense that, oh, how will I operate when the company is doing millions and millions of dollars of revenue, or lakhs of rupees, crores of rupees. What you have to think about is when I'm building the inherent business, is that scalable? And with enough innovation and capital, can it be scaled? So scalability is a big component of understanding what a startup is. I would say the second mistake that I was doing was more in my thought process. So it's very easy to watch entrepreneurs on social media platforms and watch shows on TV and be misled to thinking that the visionary stuff is what entrepreneurship is about, right? The reality is entrepreneurship is about the mundane stuff that you have to do day in, day out.
Wow.
Especially for me, coming from 15 years of corporate experience and being in senior leadership roles, I was very used to operating at a slightly more elevated level, right? And you have to guide teams. When you start out, it's the smallest of the things that you have to do. I like what Brian Chesky, the founder of Airbnb, said in one of his interviews. He said, entrepreneurship is about, when you start out, it is about creating individual experience that is so good that someone will pay for it. So, and you have to then start multiplying those individual experience. So you forget about scale. You create the first consumer, second consumer, third consumer, and their experience is fantastic. Now, what that essentially tells you is that you're not doing visionary stuff. You're actually in it with yourself and doing the stuff yourself. So that understanding took some time to develop, because a lot of times startup founders can become disillusioned because they're like, what am I doing with my life? I'm doing this small things, whereas my peers are taking business class flights and they are addressing conferences. I wouldn't even call it a mistake. I would say it's something that can be easily learned, but it's very good and beneficial if, when you start out, you're able to keep that in mind, that you're actually starting out. Remember the first day of the job when you started out and you were doing the absolute basic stuff. That is what you will do when you start your company.
So, what is one of the interesting ways in which you can stay grounded when you do this? So, what you're saying is, we look to Elon Musk's interviews, and
Yeah.
and then we look at Bill Gates and Narayana Murthy, and when they're now at the helm of their at the peak of their careers, and then they're giving interviews about entrepreneurship, and then here is a young startup budding entrepreneur trying to start something, and then he looks at that and he says, "Oh my God, I'm doing nothing."
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you stay grounded during that period? What are some tips that you're doing to avoid this disillusionment, if I can call it?
So this is actually an area where the entrepreneurship world can adopt what is there in the corporate world. So what happens in corporate? If you have a person and you assign a mentor to the person, you're not assigning the CEO of the company as a mentor of the person, right? You're assigning his manager one level above, two level above, as the mentor of the person, because that person can connect with what you're doing or what that employee is doing, and mentor and guide as to where he should focus. In entrepreneurship, it is very easy to look at social media and make your ideal as someone who's already very successful. What you need to do, and what I need to do, and everyone else in the space needs to do, is constantly find people who are probably 2 steps ahead of you, maybe 2 years, 3 years ahead of you in a similar journey. I actually would say it's not even like a food space. Even if it's for someone from a non-food space but on an entrepreneurial journey, but they are 2-3 years ahead of you, the benefit of that conversation and the value that they will bring to you is much more than you having an idol who's already successful. There's nothing wrong with idolizing the startup founders, successful ones, but always keep out in the back of your mind that they have spent the last 10-15 years starting out and slogging and working and hustling, and
Yeah.
you're just starting out, right?
Yeah.
I remember this. I think it is from Virat Kohli. There was this quote, or he said in some interview, or someone else probably said. He said that it took me 20 years of discipline and hard work to become an overnight sensation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So a lot of times that overnight sensation and the
Gets
fast
attention.
success
Yeah.
is what everyone is targeting, whereas that's not how it works. So
Yeah.
therefore, if you talk to someone who's just 2 years ahead of you and you have multiple people that you can speak
Yeah.
with, they will tell you where you are making mistake, what you can do differently, how you can tap into the support systems, what all support is available in your space. There are so many
Yeah.
programs that you can take support from. There are government programs in India, abroad, grant programs, so many things that you can say, take
Yeah.
support from, but you will get it when you speak to the people who are 2 3 years ahead of your journey.
Wonderful tip. So, if you're an entrepreneur, I think it's important to understand that you can look up to the stars in the field for inspiration,
Yep.
but for all the perspiration while running the marathon, look for people just ahead of you
Yes,
because I think
absolutely.
they'll keep you going. Yeah, that's a very, very useful piece of advice. You seem to have gone through a lot of what Wasserman calls founders' dilemmas, and one of the things you touched upon is this whole value dilemma of you kind of also cleared the myth that just because you're an e-commerce startup, you need not be scalable by default. So
Yeah,
scalable is something different.
yeah.
And so so just some quick thoughts or tips about how does one handle these situations when you're facing value dilemmas, the purpose of the business, and something that's tempting to say, hey, if I just compromise this one thing,
Yeah,
I can actually scale and be a
yeah,
sensation, but then holding back to it, saying, no, this is not why I started.
yeah.
So what are some things you do to just stay grounded during those difficult periods of going through dilemmas?
I would actually say when I started out, this is in 2021, early 2022,
Mm.
where it was more difficult because when again a mistake that I made is when I left the job, I was thinking I will give this a shot for 2 to 3 years, and I'll give my best to it, but I will make it big in that much time, right? Again, huge mistake. Anything worth building takes time to build. In fact, now in hindsight, I can say anything that can be built very quickly is not permanent. Someone else can do it really fast
Yeah.
as well, right? So I used to suffer from those dilemmas of is it aligning to value, not aligning to value. When I felt a little bit more desperate to be success within a certain duration. The way I look at these situations, where, for example, today we are in the leaf protein space. We have been suggested to that what we can do as we are building the leaf protein business is we can easily tap into the protein isolates that are available in the market, and we can essentially become distributors of that, which creates a revenue
Yeah.
stream, and at the same time we can keep building on the
Yeah.
leaf protein that we have, right? But it's so easy because once you're clear why you started up, that thing cannot change. What can change absolutely is how you thought you will do it.
Yeah.
The how it is very easy, right?
Yeah.
So right now, when I face these kind of value dilemmas or suggestions, is I go back to the drawing board to say why you
When you
started up,
started.
and what is it that you're building. For me, I'm building a company that should last decades. It should definitely outlast me.
Mm.
I'm building a company for that. So therefore, is it very important for me to get to somewhere in the next 3 months, or can it take 6 months?
Mhm.
More often than not, for me, the answer is it is probably more important to do it right and do it in 6 months. Now, someone can come and tell us that, hey, you are spending time developing the technology,
Yeah.
but I have the technology. Do you want to partner? I'll be absolutely open for it
Yeah.
because I'm not compromising on
Correct.
the value. I'm gaining pace,
Yeah.
but doing the right thing.
Right
So
thing.
it's just important to understand whether it's the how that is getting challenged. In which case, be absolutely open because you will learn.
Yeah.
But the value and the what you're doing, generally, that's what you should stick to.
Stick to.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So now, thanks for all the interesting inputs you've suggested. I think entrepreneurs are, especially who are like just about starting,
Yeah.
I think for them this is going to be an amazing conversation, especially if they're in the food space. Just a last parting question is: you passed out many years ago from Great Lakes. So, what memories do you carry from your, days at the institute?
Yeah.
And are you still in touch with your, your batchmates? Yeah, I mean, what's your relationship with the institute even today?
So I'll start out with my memories
Memories. Yeah.
at the institute, right? So we were in the old campus, the Saidapet
Yeah.
campus is where we were,
Yeah.
um, and because it didn't have residential facilities within the campus, we all had taken houses close to the campus itself, right? I have fantastic memories of the my stay at Great Lakes. Now, not that I'm suggesting to people, but essentially because we were not staying within the campus,
Yeah.
we were able to socialize a lot more with very less restrictions on us. We were practically like four of us had rented an apartment, and we absolutely had the time of our life, not just with the four, but the larger group as well, right? It was uh, very fond memories of the institute getting together, lots of time spent talking and chatting um, and just understanding what each one wants to be. And then the beauty of college life is that you can be having a serious conversation, and then one person will say, okay, enough of it, let's go and party, and we'll just get up and go. And because we were all staying outside of
Yeah.
the campus, right, it was all on us. So I have very fond memories of my time at Great Lakes. In fact, I'm very open in saying that Great Lakes was a formative year for me, in
Yeah.
spite of that being like 1 year. Generally, you
Yeah.
say that formative years take more time, but I was coming from a merchant navy world
Yeah.
and getting into the corporate world. So for my transition journey, Great Lakes was fantastic. There's a lot of support available, but at the same time, there's a lot of freedom available to experiment and think
Mm.
about new things and bring up ideas.
Yeah.
So fantastic time. I am in touch with quite a few of our batchmates, especially those who are within the city. We meet up more often. Uh, as with any college, we have all got dispersed across the globe, so we haven't had the chance of meeting,
Yeah.
but we stay in touch. That's one of the beauties of social media, right?
Yeah.
Like any group, we have our own WhatsApp groups, and we message each other. We congratulate each other. Just most recently, when Proleri was awarded at Ministry of Food Processing by Ministry of Food Processing, one of my batchmates, so I was a little shy to put it up on the group myself, but one of my batchmates noticed and they put it up on the group, and then everyone came together and
Oh, wow.
congratulated. So we are still a group. We support each other. We talk to each other when we can, and as always, you have a core group. But I think if you need support in any form, then the group is still available. We can
Available.
still reach out to them.
Yeah. Thanks. Fantastic talking with you. And yeah, good luck with
Thank you,
the
Raj.
enterprise. And we really look forward to seeing Proleri take great strides.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Raj. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time
Yeah.
and giving me the opportunity to speak to you.
Pleasure
Uh,
is completely ours.
no, no,
As
thank you.
always, this is a special conversation because this is just not any entrepreneur, but this is our own alumni who turned into entrepreneur and is making great strides in the food space. We really look forward to seeing Proleri become globally famous, recognized, and in turn, as faculty and as an institute, we're going to be super proud of our alumni's achievements. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you, Raj. Thank you.